Okay, I guess we shall start now.
Ernie, did you record or
No, I didn't.
who's recording then? Wait, because like the recording button is on.
Yes.
I'm recording.
Who is recording?
Ananti, is that you?
Yes, yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So you're recording for us, right?
Yes, I'm recording.
Okay. Thank you.
So much. All right, so we shall start now. We are from group 5. We have Noradila Iskandar, me, Ernie Nerissa, Kong Fandri, Yang Han, and Ume Prima. And we will be presenting a forum discussion on 1984 by George Orwell.
Okay.
Okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Okay, now. Good evening and welcome everybody to the Let's Chit Chat with Ernie Bernie.
Ernie.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the world is currently swept out by the phenomenon of 1984, a masterpiece by George Orwell. What makes it more interesting is that this 1984 novel was first published in 1949, making it one of the dystopian novels in the history of literature. So it is safe to say that 1984 is a prediction or warning by Orwell about the danger and the damage caused from a totalitarian system. To discuss about this further, we have invited 4 honorable guests to our show. Our first speaker is a literature professor who has just graduated from Stanford University. Let's give a big hand to Professor Farin Evans.
Hello.
Okay. In response to the incredible number of fans from all over the world, people of film industry somehow use this opportunity to bring the events portrayed in the book into life through a movie. And let's include our esteemed guest for tonight, a legendary film director and who is known for her unique film and techniques, introducing Nora Roberts.
Hi.
Just now we have the director. It seems fair enough if we also have the one that acted in the movie. So now let's welcome our beautiful actress, Ume Hansworth. Okay. Last but not least, our guest here is famous for her criticisms and analysis on various artistic works. Please welcome Yang Pattinson.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So before we start the discussion, allow me to briefly tell you about the novel. The story in the novel is set in Oceania, which is governed by an all-controlling organization called the Party. By all-controlling, it means everyone in the country has no right to do, to speak, or even to think of anything beyond the party's control. While having to fight with the extreme oppression by the government, Winston Smith, our main protagonist, dared to write his hatred thoughts about the party in his diary and began an affair with a woman named Julia. He also developed a relationship with O'Brien, who he thought a member of Brotherhood, seeking to bring the party down. Forcing people into belief that 2 plus 2 is 5, the party is led by a mysterious leader. Why mysterious? So let's find out the answer from our respected panel, Professor Evans, to elaborate more of this particular character that holds a significant role in the totalitarian system that takes place in this novel.
Yes, thank you, Ernie. I think Big Brother is a mysterious leader, the supreme ruler of Oceania, the leader of the party, accomplished war hero, a master inventor and a philosopher, and original instigator of the revolution that brought the party to power. The party uses the image of Big Brother to instill a sense of loyalty and fire in the people. The image applies on coins, telescreens, and large posters which are plastered all over the city with the slogan, Big Brother is watching you. Despite his huge, powerful role in society, Big Brother makes no actual appearance in the novel. Winston never interacts with Big Brother in any way, and in the one scene where Big Brother speaks during the 2 minutes hit, not only is the reader not told what he says, but Winston observes that nobody present listens to what he says either. Yeah.
So, are you saying that Big Brother is just a part of their notions in getting everybody to obey their orders?
Yes, exactly. And the idea of Big Brother is sufficient to keep the people living in a state of fear. And the fact that no one seems to have ever seen him may make him even more effective as a leader. In fact, several passages through all the book suggest that Big Brother either doesn't exist or perhaps never existed as an actual person. When Winston is healed in the Ministry of Love, he has a conversation with Oberyn about the nature of Big Brother. Winston asks Oberyn if Big Brother exists, to which Oberyn replies, "Of course he exists, the party exists." So Big Brother is an embodiment of the party. When Winston asks if Big Brother will ever die, Oberyn simply sighs, "Of course not. How could he die?" In short, Big Brother is merely a convenience or personification that suits the current goals of the party. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. So, referring to Professor Evans' description of Big Brother, we know that his existence is definitely a citizen's nightmare. Despite working for the government, our protagonist, Winston, also secretly rebels against the party. Perhaps we can have our beautiful actress, Ume Hemsworth, to share her perspective regarding Winston's character.
Okay, thank you, Annie. Thank you for the interesting question. So, in this novel, I can literally see nothing but the widespread of cruelties, oppression, destruction of good human inherent values, and abuse of power and technology. So, to add more, George Orwell has always been adaptly able to depict the notorious system through the action of characters speaking not as an actor but as a real human being. Whenever I see the role of Winston, I feel the same as he did, and mine henceforth becomes rebellious like him. But I feel so paranoid when I see him destroyed into pieces and dilapidated by the supreme power and oppression of this system. So to see this devastating stage of Winston, I feel the fear of Big Brother, who always use the fear as a force and remind me a line of this novel that power is tearing human mind into pieces and putting them together in a new shape of your own choosing. So that's
Mm. So no matter how strong you are, you just can never defeat the government, right? At the end of the day, Winston and others only serve as the puppets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Ernie. Like, impressive seeing that after decades of year, the content of the novel is somehow still relevant now. And I guess that's why I'm compelled to direct this movie, among other reasons.
Yeah, exactly. I was attracted to be the part of this movie, and partly due to that reason too, and important to say in this novel, it is clearly visible to the readers on how the government system immensely controls people. And George Orwell depicted the real scenario of human life in the society. You have friends and or love, and government wants all their energy and emotion for the purpose of the party. At that time, it is hard to have one's own thought because government is constantly filling people's head with their own propaganda, and the government breaks human beings completely till they lose their reason and sanity, believing whatever the government says. To the fact that even when basic facts were distorted, like 2 plus 2 equals to 5, So none of them would retort. Thus, I truly understand that why Winston risked his life by revealing against the government, and I would never be able to portray the complex thought of on my face if I were to play Winston character.
Right. I couldn't imagine being in that kind of setting too. I'll be stiff for sure. Thank you, Miss Hemsworth. On that note, Miss Robert, welcome back to our show. You have once again graced our studio with your presence following your success in the film 1984. Through this movie, you are granted the Best Director Award along with your cast, right? So, how does that feel? I believe this is your comeback with novel adaptation instead of an original. So, what would you say about this achievement of yours?
So yes, thank you, Ernie, for the compliments. So, well, what can I say? That firstly, I am totally grateful for the opportunity that Golden Pictures given me to direct this final masterpiece of Orwell before his death. And this success is like for all of my cast and crew, because without them, that there will be no accomplishment at all. And Ume, thank you. You did a great job as Julia. And yes, this time around, I went with an adaptation instead of an original. So it actually starts with my nephews ranting on his annoyance to read all of the literary texts assigned to him since he is more of a visual learner. And so it just spirals from there, bringing us to the present.
I see. So we have your nephews to thank for this achievement then. Right. So thank you, boys, wherever you are. Moving on. You are directing a movie based on a very famous novel, and even before it was released, the film industry has been buzzing about it. Maybe you could tell us more about the movie and how is the audience acceptance and reactions towards the movie?
Yeah, so honestly, at first I was quite worried doing it, taking the responsibility to bring the famous novel to life, but decided to just go ahead with it. And I take it as my honor, also as a form of homage to Orwell. So basically, this movie tells the story and the world that the main character, Winston Smith, lives in. So this grim and bleak world ruled by Oceania using a totalitarian system is depriving the citizens of their right to live freely and absolutely crushing individualism. So in this world, the foods are rationed, the rooms are wiretaped, filled with bugs. So, it's just pathetic. And how people are being controlled, indoctrinated to the extent they lose track of what's real and what's not. And then in this like black and white world, suddenly comes Julia, a girl with dazzling dark hair in all of her glory, wearing red sash around her waist, and giving I love you notes to the main character. So this is the starting point of Revolutionaries Act from Winston. So they started, doing all of this lover stuff. They make love, go on dates until one day he was called to the office of O'Brien, a high official. And starting from there, it gets darker, more aggressive. And you will have to watch the movie yourself to know the ending. But if you have read the novel, you would probably know. And as far as the acceptance of the audience, our team tried to really follow the novel, and we managed to do it, I guess, based on the people's reaction. So I'm a bit shy to say this myself, but I'm glad the audience are satisfied with how the movie resembles the book. I try to totally synchronize, the bleak and angry vision that Orwell have portrayed in the book. So there's I think I need to thank the readers also, because like I asked their opinion, their views on it using my social account, Twitter and other media, because I would hate myself if I started getting ahead of it and ruin it trying to please the mainstream belief of people. And some did suggest that I end it on a more cheerful note, but that's a big no for me, because that is disrespectful, and maintaining all the horrifying things that befell our main character is actually quite a fun process. So overall, they are quite happy since everything from the set to script, I make sure that it follows the novel closely.
Wow, such a detailed work from our director. Thank you so much for sharing, Nora. I noticed that in this novel, Orwell divided the Oceania society into three distinct class systems named the inner party, the outer party, and the probe. In fact, the classification of social class is no longer uncommon among us. Oftenly in the society that we currently live in, we hear a group of wealthy and influential people that belong to the upper class. We have working people to be in the middle class as well as lower class. That refers to those who have low income. So, Mrs. Pattinson, can you explain further on the categories of the society stated in 1984?
Sure, thank you, Ernie. I think to understand the classes of society in this novel, I would suggest we look at it so theorem. For our audience to understand it better, I will explain it a little bit. So this theorem focuses on the representation of the class conflicts and class distinction in literature. To understand the different classes in the society, we could ask these questions. How do characters from different class interact? Which class it claims to represent? Who holds the power? And so on. So let's move on to this novel, 1984. The O'Brien is a representative of the inner party. He is a representative of the totalitarian rule of the party. They deeply know what they are doing and why they are doing it, including all the anti-human behaviors. However, Winston belongs to the outer party. He can only blindly obey the instruction do a rapid word every day and constantly temper with the pause so as to maintain the party's forever correct and glorious image. Yeah, you know, it is so absurd. I think there is no freedom except to just accept a supervision of ideologic ponies and tennis green. But on the contrary, they pros seem to have all the freedoms, but in fact, they are firmly controlled by the party. The novel is described as follows. Let me share you. From the proletariat, there is nothing to worry about. If you don't provoke them, they will work, breed, and die generation after generation, central after central. They not only have no impulse to rebel, but also have no ability to understand that there can be a world different from the present world. Only when the development of industrial technology makes it necessary for you to give them higher education, they will be dangerous. But because military and commercial competition is no longer important, people's education level has actually declined. Whatever opinions the masses have or do not have has been regarded as unimportant. So this is my opinion. Thank you.
Or in short, just do not educate yourself if you live in Oceania, or else you just have to deal with the oppression. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Pattinson. In this novel, Oceania is described as a super state that is constantly warring with the other two totalitarian states, which are Eurasia and Eastasia. Behind the powerful nature of Oceania, there are four ministries working along with the party, namely Ministry of Truth, we have Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Love, as well as Ministry of Plenty. Out of a total of four ministries that I mentioned just now, the protagonist, Winston, works at Ministry of Truth. So let's invite Ms. Robert to enlighten us about the specific ministry and tell us how impactful it is to society.
Okay, yes, what Ernie said is true. Like the protagonist works in the Ministry of Truth, and for that reason, there are quite a number of themes that we shoot with this building. So, the ministry, or shall I say, Minitru, is actually built on or inspired from the structure of a Senate House in the University of London, as you can see. So you can imagine like how big this building is. So this big looming structure housing thousands of rooms is responsible for the so-called truths in by the state. So it concerns itself with the news, media, entertainment, fine arts, and also books of the state. So the sole purpose of its existence is to rewrite history and change facts so that it fits the doctrine of the party or the propaganda of the state. So like if the big brother makes a prediction and it turns out to be wrong, they will correct it and make it true. So in a way, this maintain the absolute power of the party by showing that they are always right and they can never do wrong. And obviously, they are never wrong because they manipulate records of the past and also the present. So compared to the other building in the state, the Ministry of Truth building is 300 meters high and new compared to the others because like we can see from the white concrete and all. Also, it has these tacky slogans outside, while the other buildings is like old and run down. And this fact itself shows that only the government is important in this state. And just like how this building towers high and imposing compared to the others, the government also overshadows the rest of the society.
Oh, wow. So this ministry is basically bluffing everything. But in a sense, it really is ministry of truth, since in Oceania, their truth is the only truth acceptable.
Yes, exactly. So Orwell also did a good job in manipulating the fact. Other than Ministry of Truth, just like what you said, we have Ministry of Peace. The Ministry of Peace, but is actually in charge of maintaining a state of war. And Ministry of Love, which is supposed to be, responsible for love, is responsible to inflict people with torture. And Ministry of Plenty maintain a state of permanent poverty and food shortage in this state. So how you can see like how these contradictory words are being used compared to
Yes.
their roles. Mhm.
Yeah, I really love how Orwell reflects the facts by using a completely contradict names. It creates this special effect that can invoke the imagination of the readers. Okay, thank you, Miss Robert. Speaking about the totalitarian system, never have I ever imagined myself being watched, being controlled by the system my entire life. So, Miss Hansworth, considering how free and how safe our country is, what is your thought about this total surveillance society depicted in the novel?
Okay, if I have to illustrate you about our present condition uh, in real life, our country is far better than the country that being depicted in the novel. But I will say surely we will not be safe if the surveillance spread fear and phobia, take control over the people, personal and private life. So, like George Orwell portrayed in the novel, so he depicted that General Mess is governed by the constant surveillance, even though there is no police, no laws. So there is a police force that the thought police and the constant reminder on the poster rather so if we go to the unpredictable control and service, then I cannot imagine this scenario in our real life.
Okay, so Miss Hemsworth, can you please repeat the part where you talk about the police force because we can barely hear you because of your unstable connection.
Okay.
Yes.
As you asked me about the surveillance society that depicted in the novel, So if I have to illustrate you about our present condition in real life, our country is far better than the countries being depicted in the novel. But I will say surely we will not be safe if the surveillance spread fear and phobia, take control over the people, personal and private lives, like George Orwell portray in the novel. So we can see that he depicted that general mess is governed by the constant surveillance, even though there is no police, no law. So there is a police, so the thought police and the constant reminder on poster that Big Brother is watching. So if we go through this unpredictable control and surveillance, our life is no better than the hell. Even I cannot imagine that the scenario in our real life.
Yeah, the fact that you compare their lives with the situation in hell clearly describes how awful their lives are. Even as simple as watching television is impossible for them, right?
Yeah, yes, in fact, if you read the novel and watch the film, you will find that the ultimate device of surveillance is the telescope. And hearing the word, you may normally visualize our normal television, but terrifying is not. And it acted like um, it acts as the eye of the government and constant surveillance of a big brother, as George Orwell mentioned. So the telescreen displays a single channel of news, propaganda, and wellness programming. It differs from our own television in two crucial respects. It is impossible to turn off, and the screen also works. Watch its viewer recording every sound and movement. Actually, Orwell television was based on the technologies of television pioneer prior of World War II and could hardly be seen as science fiction. So, if I may add, in the 1930s, Germany had a working video phone system in the place, and television programs were already being broadcast in part of the United States, Great Britain, and France. So we all will I think you all will agree with me that that I feel that electronic surveillance has entered silently into the fabric of the society with little public debated about its moral implications. But some takes it as a sinister look, like Orwell view it as a tool of domination and social control, whereas new technologies in our time provides us comfort and security to others, like a benevolent parental watchful eye. So nervousness as being what had been replaced increasingly by nervousness if we are not.
Well, I should say that I am really glad that we are not living in that society. And the fact that you can see my face every Saturday night instead of that Big Brother scary face when you turn on your television.
Who are neighbors, and nowadays these technologies are friendly phase of surveillance where closed circuit television exists virtually in hours suddenly, from transportation hubs, network to schools, supermarket, hospitals, public sideways, not to mention law enforcement and their vehicles. It seems to me that surveillance is not to include our freedom, but to make us safe from criminals. From my point of view, the scenario of surveillance that Orwell depicts in the novel is totally different from our present day surveillance society that are living in. But when I see the Orwellian surveillance society, a dark cloud of fear grabs my mind and make me feel phobia and paranoid. So such society that belongs to this cruel surveillance destroys the peace of citizens, stop public opinion and freedom. And this surveillance can never be welcomed anywhere, as that will be the end of secrecy and privacy of our personal life.
Yeah, I feel that way too, but who knows, the dark side of technology is beyond me. Okay, that said, for those who have read the novel, I'm sure that this particular slogan stays in your head for who knows how long. Okay, let me read out the slogan. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Okay, I would like to ask our next panel, Mrs. Pattinson, to share her opinion regarding this official yet terrifying slogan of the party. Did you get goosebumps as I did when you first encountered this word?
Okay, to tell you the truth, when I first saw this portal content, I felt very familiar with it. I thought about it for a long time and finally recorded that I once read one novel, The Body Problem. I don't know whether you have read it before. It was a work of a Chinese writer named Liu Cixin. Maybe some Chinese friends know him. I think he's famous in China. Later, I inquired about it on the internet. It turned out that those two novels were about synchronized communism. When I first read this slogan, it made me feel very absurd because it was a very ironic statement. In our real life, it is impossible to see that. It is ridiculous to equate two completely opposite words. Warm is peace. People use endless war to obtain peace. Oceania stage in the novel has fully developed into a perfect machine, and the individuals are reduced to being part of the state machine. They rely on the body to lubricate the operation of the state machine. And the freedom is slavery. Ignorance is a strength. The ideologic police always monitor you. Your kids may report you at any time. They use newspeak and delete words to deprive you of the right to express your thoughts. It's kind of infinite exaggeration and absurdity is normal under their governance. And in the society, the system completely monopolized rights in the rule of state directly abandoned the norms and the regulation. However, there is also the strength of the author. Through the illusion of the chaos, he grasps the weakness of centralized communism and portrayed the ridiculous system with a helpful novel. Also, this slogan is insane. In fact, this description in the novel were tragically stated in the later Soviet Union and China. But fortunately, we have gone through that period of darkness, and the civilization of the mankind has not disappeared under this slogan. Yes, it's my opinion. Thank you.
Yes. Hopefully that period of darkness has passed. Now, I would like to associate the context of this novel with our current education system. In this novel, Orwell introduced us to this interesting language called as newspeak, which played a part in creating the propaganda and to deceive the society. Uh, Professor Evans, as an expert in the language field, do you believe in the power of language?
Yeah, thank you, Ernie. Yes, I do. But before I go further, let me briefly explain the origin of Newspeak. Newspeak is actually a product derived from preventing ideological crimes and is intended to replace ordinary English, called as Oathspeak. In short, Newspeak is refined English, which is used to weaken people's ability to express opinions in different ways and sentences. Newspeak, which is identified as the language of Oceania in the novel, is the party's way of controlling its citizens by limiting the words and ideas they can express. Winston and his peers are still of an age where their main way of communicating is old speak. However, by the time Newspeak is a national language, thought crime will be literally impossible because there will be no words in which to express it. In other words, the government controls human thought through language. So we can see the importance and the power of language. Language isn't just about words, even if dictionaries state otherwise. Most of us communicate through words, yes, be they written, spoken, or sent, but most communication comprises facial expressions, physical cues, and speaking with our eyes, aka body language. Irrespective of its form, however, language serves the social practice of understanding one another, which as a species is important to us. But it's not the only reason why we do it. Essentially, language is used to communicate ideas, and because of this, it harbors a power we are rarely conscious of. As an example from the novel, it covers a power to practice dictatorship. Yeah.
In regard to the influential power of the newspeak, can you explain to us in details on how this refined English is being exerted in the society of Oceania?
Yes, let's take an obvious example. The dictatorship system in Oceania portrays power hungry, tyrant, and their cronies use language from words in televised speeches to images in propaganda to spread an idea to garner uncritical support and gain adoration and fear from the masses. Meanwhile, these centers use language from words in speeches at secret gatherings to images in anti-government posters and pamphlets to destabilize that power by encouraging criticism and inspiring rebellion. This ability to convey an idea and instill it an audience demand shows the power that language can have as a means of communication. A given idea can then spread or die, change opinions or reinforce them, keep people in their place or roast them, or it can evolve into more ideas, each with their own, or it can stagnate and paralyze thought. But at its core, the power of language is something bigger. Well, it may appear simplistic to say that if we can use language to convey idea, we can do the same to counter idea. It's precisely here where it's true. Elemental power lines as no single idea. However dominant it may be, exist without opposition, criticism, or questioning, and this is always done through language, whether it's voiced, joined, gesticulated, or communicated.
Yes, I agree with From. Language has the power to subvert power, both its own creations. Language is a cornerstone and a tool for constructing social reality, and it is a basic method for an individual to socialize and become a member of his society and world. It also carries the culture and thought of the society, and it is a bridge between individuals, nations, and countries to distinguish and understand each other. Yes, this is my opinion, Ernie.
All right, that was illuminating. Yes, very insightful indeed. Thank you so much, Professor Evans and Miss Pattinson. Okay, now look at the time. We are at the end of our show, and I know I have enjoyed myself throughout the discussion, and I hope you all have too. So that concludes our time together. It's a pleasure to have our special guest to be with us for today. And if you are looking forward to discuss more about the ending of Winston and Julia's love story, Don't forget to join us again, same channel on the same day. I am Ernie Bernie. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Any question?
Okay. Okay, so that's it from us, everyone.
If any of you has any questions,
Okay, there's a question. You explained about newspeak earlier. What are some examples of from newspeak? Just now, Nora mentioned about the name of the ministry. Ministry of Truth becomes Mini True. Ministry of Love become, what was it, Nora? Mini Love?
a mini love, yes, mini love.
Mini Love. Yeah, so sort of like that. More examples?
In the slide, the images there contain words. The double plus good. So double plus, more quoted. So like they a sort of they combine like two words together to make people confused. Like what does that supposed to mean actually? So when I was reading the script, the novels and all, like this kind of words actually it really stops my train of thoughts, and I became unable to form thinkings. I couldn't really use this language. It really restrict my words.
Yes.
So I guess when they use this newspeak, they are really ensuring that people don't really know in the future what to say or what to write. So yeah.
And another question. I have read the novel too, and in the novel, Winston betrayed Julia. What do you think is the reason for the betrayal? All right. Who was it? Leaping. Okay. Thank you so much for for it just now. So I'm glad for this question. Okay. Winston betrayed Julia. So in the novel, when Julia and Winston was first caught that they are having affair with each other. So when they are first caught, they were brought to a room called as room 101, or we can also call it as a torture chamber, because that's where the government tortures people who are in love, who have affair and all. Okay, so for me, when I first encountered this particular event where they are being tortured by the government at the Ministry of Love, there is this one question that came into my mind, which is the necessity versus desire. Okay, this is because Winston is struggling with his necessity and desire when he first tortured by the government. This is because necessity, what I mean by necessity is that his survival of life. He has to think whether he must rescue himself, but then at the same time he also have to think and consider of his desire, which is his love towards Julia. So that's when the betrayal happens, because Winston chose to chose his desire.
Abandoned.
Yes, chose to betray Julia because of his own to save his life. So perhaps others have anything to add on?
Yes, I want to add on. For me, I can understand Winston and Julia's betrayal. Yeah, because under the pressure of the government and its own fear, any feelings can be destroyed. Yeah, that's all. And anyone want to add on?
Yes, I also want to share my opinion about his question. Um, you know, you can imagine if you are the Western, maybe we all came to fear than to the initial torture. But Winston persisted to the end, but was defeated by the rains. everybody has something to afraid. We can't put him on the top of the morality just because he's a main character in this novel. Um, he is also a human being, and the O'Brien just caught his soft rape revenge, which has been mentioned several times in the novel before. So this is my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, if if I were to face that kind of torture, I guess I would have also failed. But I think me personally, I would try to hold on to these desires, like, you know, because like in this world, in this society, friendship is not allowed. Love obviously. So to not have these two things that could, you know, enlighten our world, our life, and to be restrained of having this friendship, this bond, I think that will be a nightmare. So that even if you're not tortured, to have abandoned your to have when you forsake this desire of yours is the same as that, I guess. So there is no point in living if you can't have a simple a pleasure as love. And love is not just between men and women, obviously. Love between our families. And if you notice in the novel, even our own kids could report ourselves to the thought police. So between parents and child, we can't really have any trust or bond. That's ridiculous. So better die at that stage. I guess that's it. Do our floor have any other question?
Hmm. Oh yeah, just now we also mentioned about Marxism theory, but I guess you cannot hear that clearly because when Yang Han, if I'm not mistaken, when Yang Han was explaining the Marxism theory, suddenly it gets stuck somewhere. So yeah. Any question? Any more question? No?
I don't think so, Ernie. You can conclude.
Um, oh, I think I have concluded our session already.
Let me just close. the thing.
Oh, okay.
we
So
end.
if you have no more question to ask, can you repeat the Marxism? Wait, Marxism theory. Yang
Ah.
Han, can you explain about, or Yang Han or Nora, because you guys are in charge of the Marxism theory?
So Marxism theory basically deals with class, how class was being represented in the literature. So like Marxism theory, I think George Orwell likes to have this kind of approach towards literature where he would incorporate these different classes of society in his novel. In 1984, we can see like that 3 different classes, right? Inner party, outer party, and then proles. And also in another of his novel, Animal Farm, we could also see like there's different class society. We have the pigs, we have the cats. So we can see like this different representation of classes in society and how this could actually depict things, how it is in our life. And I guess to make it easy, if we want to really like understand Marxism, is we could ask this question, like which classes hold the power, like which classes are how do I say serve to like functions, serve to work, and then what else?
The lowest class.
Okay, so Han, maybe you could help
How
me.
how do characters from different class interact? interact,
Mhm.
and just like talk with each other, the way.
Okay, so
Uh,
yeah,
you know.
so basically how characters from different classes interact. If we look at it, and if we look at who holds the power and which class does this particular person represent, then we can understand Marxism better. So in this novel, which character holds the power? O'Brien,
Yes,
because
O'Brien.
like he's from the inner party. And which characters have the can be considered as middle class?
Winston.
Yes, Winston, outer party. So using this kind of question to see parts of literature will help us understand like this Marxism theory.
We're gonna stop yeah the discussion, and we are gonna go off on another platform. Yeah.